All right, guys, now going over our positional work for the wrist. So we're going to be going over both wrist flexion and wrist extension isometric work. So you can obviously do this one arm or both at a time, but what we're going to start with, all right, is the wrist extension. So as you can see, I'm kind of here on toes, knees, and obviously hands here. And what I'm doing is spreading my fingers, really rooting the palms here, and then rocking forward into the stretch. As far as you can go without the heel of the palm popping up, and obviously without any undue pain or discomfort in the wrist joint itself. You can also do this with fingers backwards if you have the requisite mobility and flexibility here, okay? So if you can handle this position, this might be a better one to train, okay? So the idea here is to hold this position for a passive stretch for about 2 minutes, all right? So you can begin to rock back to find your end range of motion, obviously rock forward if that's a little bit too much. But after that passive stretch, we're gonna get into the push-pull isometrics. So the first thing that we're going to do is push into the ground, okay? As if I'm trying to, do that with the wrist, okay? So get right here. So I'm actively pushing my fingers down into the ground as if I'm trying to bring my hand back to neutral, okay? So I'm doing that for about 15 seconds, and now I'm doing the opposite. I'm trying to raise my fingers up off the ground, okay? Really getting into that top forearm muscle there. Again, because I'm in like this, basically vertical 90-degree position, there's gonna be little, if any, actual movement, but it's the intention that counts. So I'm actively pulling these muscles here, and actively pushing, okay? So that is the isometric work with wrist extension, and then basically for flexion, it's the same idea. You're coming on down on top of the wrist. So this would be your passive stretch, okay? You would hold for about 2 minutes. And then here, I really personally like to think of my hand as like a flipper. So I'm bringing my fingers together. And then when we start doing the push this way, I'm really thinking about pushing equally with the backs of all fingers as well as the back of the hand itself. It can be a little bit tricky to generate tension through the hand in this position, okay? But that's ultimately what you're trying to do. And then of course, the opposite would be trying to pull your palm into further flexion, okay? So here, your fingers are probably gonna leave the ground a little bit, as you can see, okay? And again, about 15 seconds on that contraction, okay? So that really gets into the forearm musculature with those isometric contractions, and that is super duper for the wrist. Now, you can obviously do this on the floor like I demonstrated, or you can do this in a standing position, like down up against a table, chair, anything like that, okay? So that is your wrist positional isometrics in extension and in flexion. Enjoy.